Now we'll move through the guided learning to enter a building into the Asset Score tool. And we'll be using Building 101 in Philadelphia. You can see an image of that building here on the screen. And we have some handout information and some drawings to look at, so we've got a lot of good reference material for this building that will provide us with everything we need to enter it into the Asset Score. So let's go to the Asset Score site. I've logged into the site and I'm going to add a new building. And the first thing that I need to do is enter some general information about my building. So before we go to the Asset Score site, let's look at an overview of the inputs that we'll need to do for modeling a building in the Asset Score. We're going to enter some general building information, and then we're going to assign use types to our building. And this is essentially the programmatic use of the building, whether it's office space, classrooms, that kind of thing. Then we will enter each of the envelope assemblies, our roof, floor, walls, windows, etc. We'll specify the types of lighting fixtures we have in our building and the mechanical equipment, as well as what type of water heating equipment we've got. Then we'll give some information about operation, and then we'll describe the geometry of the building. Then we'll be assigning the different systems to each of the blocks that we've created in the geometry for the building. So that's just a brief overview of how we'll be doing it. Let's go over to the Asset Score and begin entering Building 101. I'm in the Asset Score and I will click on New Building. And the first thing that I'll do is give it a building name, which is just going to be Building 101 in this case. You can create whatever name is meaningful for you. Now, as I mentioned, we do have a handout on this building that gives the general information. We saw a picture of it before, and this handout shows us everything we need to know: when the building was built, the gross floor area, the address, some information about the assemblies that we'll be entering, the lighting, the mechanical equipment, operations, and the geometry. Here's a more complete picture you can see, and information on the individual floor plans. So for my general information, I needed the name, the year the building's completed is 1911, the gross floor area is 61,700 square feet, and the address on Broad Street. So let's go ahead and enter that information. Now I'm working from two screens here, which makes it easy to refer to my reference material and enter it into the Asset Score. If you're working with two screens, you can do that. Or if you have printouts of the information you need, whatever method works for you. So our year our building was completed is 1911. Our total floor area is 61,700 square feet. Now you'll see that Asset Score doesn't like the comma. Please enter only digits. So you'll get little warnings like that when need be. Our location is 4747 South Broad Street in Philadelphia. And we have a drop down for the state. And our zip code is 19112. And here you can also add any notes that you'd like about the building. We're going to leave that blank and go ahead and create our building. Now, Asset Score now has Asset Score Preview, which is a pared down input mode, but we're going to do the full model, so we'll go ahead and enter Asset Score. The first thing we need to designate for our building is the use type. Now the use type refers to the general function of the building, not of a particular space inside the building. And this will affect the operational and load assumptions in the model. The use type for our building is office. You can enter up to 5 use types, but we only have one use type for Building 101. You need to assign a use type to every block of geometry that you model for your building. And we'll talk about that more when we get to blocks. So let's add a use type. Now one thing to also note is that whenever you're entering information, if there's a red asterisk, That is a required field to enter. The other thing is that this help button will always be specific to the field that you're working in. So this tells us that the use types are based on Energy Star Portfolio Manager and the CBEX building type definitions and ASHRAE 90.1 building type classifications. And then it gives a little description of each use type. So you can close out of help and it will bring you back to where you were because it opens it in a new window. We know for our building that the use type is office. Then we'll hit next. And now we'll move on to assemblies.